Very good morning, dear students. This video is for class 10th subject science chapter number 5 and this is lecture number 8, which is having assignment solutions of assignment number 1. In this assignment you have 11 questions in total and the first question is write a brief note on Daubernier's triad with its limitations. And the answer to this question is that Daubernier was the first scientist who worked in this field, that he focused on the atomic masses of the elements, and according to that he arranged some of the elements in group of 3. According to him, when elements are arranged in the order of increasing atomic mass, the atomic mass of the middle element is nearly equal to the average mass of the other two, and its properties are intermediate between those of the other two. So he made only 3 triads on the basis of atomic masses and properties, and he found that the mass of the first and third, if we take the average of first and third, we get the average mass which is nearly equal to the mass of the second element in the triad. But the biggest limitation of Daubernier's triad was that time around 30 elements were there, but he was able to only group only 9 elements in 3 triads, where there is a possibility that the dissimilar atoms can be grouped. So the biggest limitation is that only few, just 9 elements he was able to fix in his triads. So these things you can elaborate in the answers. Now let us move on the next question. Question number 2 is, what is the Newland's octave? What advantages it has on Daubernier's triad? Newland's law of octave is, when elements are placed in the increasing order of their atomic masses, the properties of the 8th element are repeated. So according to him, there was a periodic function, and that was of their atomic masses, that when the elements are placed in the increasing order of their atomic mass, every 8th element will repeat the properties. In the answer, you can also include the musical notations with which Newland compared the repetition of the properties of elements. And by making Newland's law of octave, the table that he was having, in which 7 groups were there and there were 7 periods. So in that, what he did, he placed the element according to the increasing atomic masses, and he placed 8th element just below the first one because it was repeating the properties of the first one. So according to him, every 8th element shows the similar physical and chemical properties. And what was the advantages? Even the Newland's octave was having one of the triads which was discovered by Daubernier, but now Newland, he placed more than 30 elements which were present at that time, and most of the elements were placed according to their properties, but he was not able to follow this rule beyond calcium. So this was one of the limitations, but the advantages is that most of the elements were grouped on the basis of their physical and chemical properties. Question number 3 is, what is the Mendeleev's periodic law? And the answer to this question is that according to Mendeleev, a periodic function is the one which repeats itself after a certain interval, and the chemical and the physical properties of elements are a periodic function of their atomic masses. This conclusion was called law of chemical periodicity, and this is the Mendeleev's law of periodicity. So this was Mendeleev's law for the elements, or you can say Mendeleev's periodic law. Question number 4 of the assignment was, what is the law on which modern periodic table is based? So as we know, in the modern periodic table, the elements are arranged in the increasing order of their atomic numbers rather than their atomic masses, because atomic number was found to be the more fundamental property, and that is why the changes which were done in the Mendeleev's periodic law were on the basis of atomic number. And the modern periodic law on which modern periodic table is based is, properties of elements are the periodic functions of their atomic numbers, and that is why the elements are placed in the increasing order of their atomic number, and it was found that the physical and chemical properties are well matching with each other. Question number 5 is, why are S, P, D and F blocks are so named in the modern periodic table? To understand the answer of this question and many questions of your assignments, you will have to understand some following things. That how electron is arranged around the nucleus. We know that in an atom we have one nucleus and the electrons revolve around the nucleus. So electrons, they are arranged in the cell around the atom's nucleus. According to us, an atom is having a model that it is having a nucleus in which neutrons and protons are there, and the electron revolves around the nucleus because of the nuclear force of attraction, because here we have positive charge and the electron is a negatively charged particle, so there will be a force of attraction between the two. So we know that all the electrons which are there revolving in the shells, they have equal masses and equal charge on them. But every electron is having different energy, and because of having different energy, it is not always in the same cell, or you can say even if it is the electrons are in the same cell, they can be at different energy levels. So according to the energy levels, because every element, every electron will go to the lowest energy state. So the electrons closest to the nucleus will have the low energy, and here the force of attraction between the nucleus and the electron will be very high. And the electrons further away from the nucleus will have higher energy. And how many electrons one shell can accommodate, it can be given by the general formula 2 into n raised to power 2. We'll be using it to find out the number of electrons present in one shell. Till now, we know that nucleus, and along with it we have orbits or shells. Till now we have been introduced with 4 shells, K, L, M and N, in which we can accommodate 2, 8, 8, 18, 18 and 32 and so on. So these many number of electrons we can accommodate in these shells. But these shells are made up of 4 different subshells in them. So each shell is having 4 subshells, and these subshells are S, P, D and F. S, P, D and F are the subshells in one shell. So in one shell we have 4 subshells. In each cell, for K cell also we have this, for L shell we have this, for M also, and they were named so because S denotes the sharp, that means zero energy, then P first energy level, P is the principal word, from there it has been taken, D diffuse, and F is the fundamental. So these were the words from which S, P, D and F are taken, and these are 4 different subshells in which according to the energy level electrons accommodate. So S is the lowest energy level, P is having energy higher than S, D is having energy higher than P, and F is having the highest energy among all. So in a shell we have S, P, D and F subcells, and the formula that how many electrons can be accommodated in S subshell, P subshell, D subshell and F subshell is 2 into n raised to power n, where n is the number of subshell in which the electrons are present. So as we know that S is the first subshell with the lower energy, the lowest energy you should say. So accordingly we will have 2 into n, we have put n is equals to 1, so we'll get 2. That means in S subshell we can have 2 electrons, and we know that electrons are negatively charged particles, so they will repel each other, and only 2 electrons can accommodate in one subshell, and they will be as far as possible in that subshell. So they can accommodate spin wise, like this is called spin and this is called anti-spin. So they will be placed in a shell this way. Then in P, which is the second energy level, we can accommodate 8. But how? 2 differently and 3 differently, because this was first energy level and this was second energy level and this was first energy level of P. So here total 8 electrons can be accommodated. Why? Because 2 here, here. And always remember that when you are filling the electrons, first single electrons will be placed and then only the filling can be done with the second one. And every electrons try to be accommodated first in the lower energy states and then it comes to the higher energies. Then let us come to the D. So this D subshell is having, this is the third energy level or third subshell. So it can accommodate 18 electrons. How? Because in D orbital, D subshell, we can have 10 electrons. So earlier in the previous ones, we were having 2, 6 and 10. So total makes a 18. So 18 electrons can be accommodated in D subshell. The same way you have for F. For F we can accommodate 32. How? 2, 6, 10. So these are 18, and in F subshell 14 electrons can be accommodated. So accordingly we have 32 electrons accommodated in F subcells. So this is how the electrons are accommodated in S, P, D and F subshells. For example, if we take example of lithium, we know that atomic number is 3. That means it is having 3 electrons in it. So the first 2 electrons, first we have to fill the 1s completely. That means 2 electrons will be accommodated here in the s subshell. 1s that will be, and then the electron will come to this part, that is 2s. So here we will not be having 2. Now we will be having so its electronic configuration in terms of s, p, d and f is 1s 2 and 2s 1. So here we have the 1 electron. So similarly we can make the electronic configurations of each element. With this you can understand that energy level when increases, this way the subshells are filled. First energy level is having only 1s in which 2 electrons can accommodate. Second energy level is having 2s subshell and 3p subshell. So this way we can have 8 electrons in it. Third energy level is having 3s and 3p. Fourth energy level will have 4s, 3p and then 3d also. So accordingly the energy levels are filled. One principle, that is Apport's principle. Apport principle says that whenever we are trying to accommodate electron in the energy subshells, so always electrons are first filled in the lower state and then they come to the higher state. So here you can see that first the electrons will be filled in first shell, then in the second shell, then they will be filled in the third shell, which is having 2p and 3s. Then we have fourth one. The similar way will be having filling the electrons in this way. So first 1s, then 2s, and then it will come to 2p, and then to 3p, 3s, 3p, 4s, then it will come to 3d, 4p, 5s and so on. So this way we fill the energy levels of the subshells while filling the electrons. Now let us come back to the question that why S, P, D and F blocks are so named in the modern periodic table. And the answer to this question is that we have our periodic table in which just outlines I am drawing, just make you to understand that where S, P, D and F blocks are present. This is all about your periodic table. So this is our S block, P block, D block and this is our F block. Why they are named so? Because S block contains the elements whose highest energy electron comes in S subshell. Remember, highest energy electron, that means the electron which is there in the outermost shell will come in the S subshell of the outermost shell. Whereas in the P block, the elements, I am talking about all these elements which come under the P block. So in case of P block elements, the highest energy level electron will come in the P subshell of the last shell or the outermost shell. Same happens in the case of D block, that the highest energy electron will come into the D subshell or D subshell of the outermost shell. Similar for the F block, that the highest energy level, or you can say the outermost shell is having 4 subshells S, P, D and F. So in case of F block elements, the highest energy level electron or the last electron will come in the F subshell. So that is why they are named as S block elements, D block elements, P block elements and F block elements. You can have one example. Suppose one thing you have to keep in your mind, that hydrogen, which is the first element in the periodic table, comes in the S block, and helium also. Helium also is a part of S block and not P block, although it is placed on the noble gas group. But helium, hydrogen, group 1 and group 2. So S block contains hydrogen, which is there on the alkali metals, alkaline earth metals and helium. So these comprises of S block, where P block is having group number 13 to group number 18. Then F block is having lanthanums, lanthanides and actinoids. D block is having transition elements from group number 3 to 12. And these are also the part of group number 3 to 12 only. These are the members of group 3, 6th and 7th period, but they are called inner transition elements. I have already told you that why they are called inner transition elements, but the thing that you have to understand is, let us have example of each. That if we talk about lithium, then lithium is having atomic number 3. So the first 2 electrons will be coming in 1s, and the third electron will come into the 2s subshell of second cell itself. Then we can have another example of sodium. Sodium, which is having atomic number 11. Electronic configuration we know 2, 8 and 1. But how is this? In 1s we have 2 electrons. In the second energy level or KL, L shell, we have 2 this way. So 8 electrons are coming, and then next this is having only 1 electron. So this is what? 3s. So that is why, because it is coming in the 3s only, these elements are called S block elements. So as we go down in the group, for potassium it will come into the 4s, for next it will come into 5s and so on. For example, if we do it for the group 1, we have hydrogen, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium and francium. They are having atomic number 1, 3, 11, 19. Suppose we have to take up to calcium only. So here in this group we have till potassium. So for hydrogen it will come into 1s, the last electron I am talking about. For lithium it will come into 2s. For sodium it will come into 3s. For potassium it will come into 4s. Then for next it will come into 5s, 6s and 7s. So all the last electrons are coming into these S subshells, and that is why all these elements are counted as S block elements. So now you can understand that in case of P block elements, last electron will come into the P subshell. In D block elements, last electron or the highest energy electron will come into D subshell. And in case of F block elements, which are called inner transition elements, the highest energy electron will come into F subshell of the orbits. Now I hope it is clear that why S, P, D and F blocks are so named in the model periodic table, because in a particular block, the electrons with the highest energy, they come into these particular subshells of the shells, and that is why they are named so. Now let us move on the next question. Our next question is, why should the physical and chemical properties be more dependent on the atomic number rather than the atomic mass? So to understand the answer of this question, let me tell you two things. That for any atom, if I represent the atom with the symbol X, so we have the notation for this as A, Z, or it can also be written as A, Z. This we know that this is the representation of an atom, and what is A here and what is Z here? A is the atomic mass or atomic mass number, you can say, where Z is atomic number. Atomic mass is the number of neutrons plus number of protons. So it is assumed that as electrons are neglected here, because electrons have a very less mass as compared to the neutrons and protons. So neglecting electrons in case of masses does not make any difference in the mass of the nucleus. And it is assumed that most of the mass, because nucleus is having neutrons and protons, so most of the mass of the nucleus comprises of neutrons and protons and not electrons. Then the next term is atomic number. Atomic number is the number of protons. So the number of protons will be atomic number of the element, and the number of neutrons plus number of protons will be called as atomic mass. But where is the role of electron? Because the earlier predictions that were done in case of Daubernier's triad, Newland's octave or Manley's periodic table, they were all focused on the atomic mass. They were also talking about the physical and chemical properties of the element, but where is the physical and chemical property comes here? Because neither proton nor neutron, they take part in the chemical reactions, or they do not make any chemical properties of the element. So atomic mass is not the fundamental property that governs the physical and chemical properties of the element. It is the atomic number that governs the properties of the element. Why? Because here also we have the proton, but just think of that we have nucleus in which there are neutrons and protons. So neutrons are neutral in nature, where proton is having a positive charge. But to stabilize a nucleus, we have negative charge around it, which is called electrons. Electrons are negatively charged. So in case I talk about a neutral atom, an atom can be neutral only if total negative charge, or you can say the total charge, is balanced. If I have a positive charge and if I am having the same number of electrons, then only they can balance each other's effect, and then only the atom can be neutral. That means for a neutral atom, the number of proton is equal to the number of electron. So that is why it is said that the atomic number Z is the representation of atomic number, which is equal to the atomic number of protons or electrons in case of neutral atom. If we talk about a charged atom, suppose we have, let us take this example of Mg2 plus. So here you know that this element is having a charge plus 2. That means how many electrons are there? Because Mg is having atomic number 12. That means here protons are 12, but still it is having 2 positive charge on it. That means the positive charge is more and the negative charge is less here. So 12 minus 2, the positive charge on the element, the atom, will give us the number of electrons. That means 12 protons and 10 electrons are there. So atom is losing electrons and becoming positive. It is becoming ion. Its physical and chemical interactions will start only when it either loses electron or gains electrons, or in case of some other atom, shares electron. That means it is the electron which takes part in the reactions, or you can say the chemical properties, or which makes the chemical properties of the element. That is why atomic number is the more fundamental property which decides the physical and chemical properties of the element, and not the atomic mass. Question number 7 is write short notes on electronegativity, electron affinity and ionization energy. So the first is electronegativity. As we all know that many of the elements, they have a tendency to lose the electrons, and after losing the electron they become positive. They are called electropositive. That means they are positive because of the electrons, which most of the metal does. Whereas the word electronegativity indicates that they have a tendency to gain the electron, and after gaining electron they become more electronegative. So electronegativity is a tendency to attract the electrons. From where? Of, or you can say the shared electrons. Because whenever a bond is found between the two elements, two atoms, then there is either transfer of electrons or sharing of electrons. And that transfer and sharing of electrons is based on the tendency of the element to gain or lose the electrons. Electronegativity is a property of the elements which have the tendency to attract. And who will attract the electron? Suppose we have chlorine. Chlorine is having atomic number 17. So its electronic configuration is 2, 8 and 7. Every atom needs to be stabilized. And to get stabilized, it needs one more electron. So whenever electron is added to the atom, it releases energy. And the more tendency it has to gain the electron, the more amount of energy is released. So just one electron is needed and it will complete its octet. That is why chlorine is having a very high affinity, very high love towards this electron to gain this. So it is having a very high tendency to attract the electron. It will gain one electron and become more electronegative. So after gaining one electron, it will become Cl negative. Chlorine ion. It will become chlorine ion. So this is called electronegativity. that the tendency to attract the electrons and becoming more electronegative because of the gain of electrons. So electronegativity, if we talk about the trends in the modern periodic table, we know that when we go from left to right in a period, then electronegativity, because here we have metals and here we have non-metals. So in case of metals, we have electropositive nature. As we go from left to right, electronegativity increases. But as we go down in the group, the size of the elements increases, we know. So accordingly, the tendency to attract the electron will be less. So electronegativity down in the group decreases. Although you can elaborate the answer, but I am telling you the main points. The second is electron affinity. Electron affinity, that means tendency to add the electron or love towards electrons. So the energy required to add one electron to an atom is called electron affinity. For example, chlorine. If we add one electron to chlorine, it will become chlorine ion. And the energy released will be 349 kilojoule per mole, and it is written with the minus sign because it is released from the system. That is why. So energy is released whenever electron is added to the atom. The more number of electrons are added, the more energy is released. So when we talk about the trends in case of electron affinity, when we go from left to right across the period, then there are variations in the electron affinity, because at the extreme left we have metals. They have no tendency to gain the electron or to add up the electron in their atom. So they have electron affinity as 0. But as we go from metals towards non-metals, then non-metals, they have a high tendency to add up the electrons and to complete their octet and becoming or considering the noble gas configuration. So they have high electron affinity. So a large amount of energy is released in case electrons are added to the non-metals. But as in case of noble gases, they already have their electrons, their outermost shells completely filled. So they will not add up the electron in their atoms. So there are variations in the case of electron affinity as we see in the modern periodic table. The third is ionization energy. Ionization energy is the energy required to remove an electron from a gaseous atom or ion to form positive ions. So, after losing the electron, the atom, which was neutral earlier, it becomes positive in nature. For example, suppose M is an element, an atom, and it becomes M plus after losing one electron. Then this kind of ionization energy, because to remove one electron, as we know that when electron is revolving around the nucleus, it has a force of attraction between the nucleus and the electron. So to remove electron from the orbits of the electron of the atom, we need amount of energy. And that amount of energy which is required to remove one electron will be called ionization energy. So it is possible that first case, when we remove the atom from the neutral, when we remove electron from the neutral atom, so if we remove neutral electron from the neutral atom, this ionization energy will be called first ionization energy. And after losing one electron, it becomes M plus. Now, again, if I want to remove one more electron from it, and I want to make it M2 plus, and one more electron will be out. So this will require a more amount of energy, because now the nuclear charge per electron has increased. So the force of attraction is stronger now. That means this time the energy required will be different, and that energy will be second ionization energy. So while writing a short note, first you have to give the definition of ionization energy, then you have to give the types, and with the help of examples you can explain it. For example, hydrogen, after removing one electron it becomes H plus and one electron is out. Then for another example you can have, suppose we have Mg plus. Again when one electron is removed from it, it becomes Mg2 plus and one electron is out. So here from neutral atom electrons are removed. Here from ions the electrons are removed. That is why this was said in the definition that ionization energy is the energy required to remove one electron from atom or ion to form positive ions. Question number 8 is, why are there 18 groups in modern periodic table? And while answering this question, you have to take care of that 18 groups, because in modern periodic table most of the things have been taken from the Mendeleev's periodic table. As we said that there were no more changes required in Mendeleev's periodic table, only the bases were changed, but the groups and the columns were taken as it is. So let us see the modern periodic table and the Mendeleev's periodic table and compare that from where these 18 groups have come. This is our modern periodic table, which is the accepted form of periodic table. And here you can see that it is written as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18. These are group numbers. So we have total 18 groups in modern periodic table. Now just have a look on Mendeleev's periodic table. Here we were having 8 groups in total and there were 6 periods. So you can see that from 1st to 7th group, Mendeleev, he divided each group in 2 subparts, A and B. So group 1 is having A and B part. Similarly, till group 7 we have group A and B. And in the 8th group there were 3 subparts. So now you can compare that from where the 18 groups have come, because at the time of Mendeleev's periodic table was formed, noble gases were not discovered. So noble gases were not being focused in Mendeleev's periodic table. And one more thing, that 7th period, which is not here, but it is there in the modern periodic table. So that time only these many electrons were, these elements were discovered. So that is why Mendeleev, he took only 6 periods. But now the 7th period in the modern periodic table, all the elements in the 7th period, they are discovered after the Mendeleev's periodic table formation. And that is why he didn't made 7 periods. One more thing, that noble gases which were discovered after the Mendeleev's periodic table's discovery or formation, so they were not arranged there in the Mendeleev's periodic table. But Henry Moseley, as we have discussed, that he was the one who made modern periodic table. He adjusted the noble gases at the extreme end of the modern periodic table and made one more group. And as they have the last shells completely filled, so they are also called zero group. So now you can see that 7 groups divided into A and B part, but these were on the basis of atomic masses. But in case of modern periodic table, the basis was changed, and now as you can see here that lithium is having atomic mass 6.9, beryllium is having 9. So these changes in atomic masses were not gradual. But in case of atomic numbers, as you know that elements are present according to the increasing number of atomic numbers, and which are very gradual, the changes of one in every successive member of the periodic table. So all these subparts were converted into one part in the modern periodic table. So 7 into 2, 14 groups, and 3 subparts in the 8th group. So 14 plus 3, 17, and one more group for noble gases. So this way there are 18 groups in total in the modern periodic table. Let me show you how. So we have to adjust the 18 groups, and the groups are arranged in such a way in the modern periodic table that we have 1A, 2A, which are the parts of first group of Mandel's periodic table as 1A and 2A. Sorry, 1A is the first part of the first group of Mandel's periodic table, and 2A is the first part, A part of the Mandel's periodic table of second group. Then we have 3B, 4B, 5B, 6B, 7B, and then we have 8, 1B, 2B, 3A, 4A, 5A, 6A, and 7A. And at the end we have 8A. So these were the 18 groups which are now there in the modern periodic table, and they are written as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18. So this is how we have 18 groups in total, and you can see that first part of group 1A is placed at the extreme left, whereas the second part of group 1 in Mandel's periodic table is here as group number 11. So now the elements are separated. Now they are arranged in decreasing atomic number and according to their physical and chemical properties. So we have 1A and 2A here, and rest of the first parts of the group are here. So the problem which was there in the Mandel's periodic table, and the second parts of 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th group are at the left side, and they are forming the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th group of the modern periodic table. And the first parts of 4th A, 5th A, 6th A, 7th A, 8th they are here. But 8th part, you can see that we were having 3 elements in the 8th group of Mandel's periodic table. So that sub part is taken here, and they are forming 8th, 9th and 10th group in combine of the modern periodic table. So this is how we have 18 groups in total in the modern periodic table. They are taken from the Mandel's periodic table only, but that time we were not having noble gases, so there was no place for noble gases. But in the modern periodic table, according to the electronic configuration, the noble gases are placed at the extreme end, and they are forming the 18th group, or they are also called as zero group. Then if we talk about the periods, in Mandel's periodic table we were having 6 periods, because till that time only that much number of elements were discovered. But as the number of elements increased, so that is why 7th period was included in the modern periodic table. Question number 9 is, why are there 2 groups in S block, 6 in P block, 10 in D block and 14 in F block in modern periodic table? So to answer this question, we have understood the basics at the very first level of our assignment. That time we were discussing about the S, P, D and F subshells. So we are having shells, and among each cell we have 4 subshells. And we have also discussed that why S, P, D, F blocks are so named in the modern periodic table. We know that in the S block we have 2 groups, P block we have 6 groups and D block we have 10 groups, and in F we have 14 groups. So why is it so? Then remember one thing, that in case of S blocks, we know that there are S block is the first energy level of the subshells. So here we can accommodate only 2 electrons with the general formula 2n2. So if n is 1, the first energy level, so we can accommodate only 2 electrons. And we know that when we place the elements according to the increasing atomic number, then at each successive level we have 1 more electron added to the electronic configuration of the atoms. So for example, hydrogen. Hydrogen is having atomic number 1. So only 1 electron is there in the S subshell. In case of helium, as there can be 2 electrons accommodated here in the S subshell only, so in case of helium, which is having atomic number 2, that 2 electrons will be filled in the S subshell only. So that is why helium and hydrogen both are there in the S block. If we talk about another elements, that why there are 2 groups. In group 1, we have lithium, sodium, potassium and so on. So in case of lithium, we have 3 number of electrons. So in the first shell S, we have 2. Then when we come to the second energy level, again 2s comes. In that also we will fill 1 electron. So this is also coming into the S block only. The next element which is there in the modern periodic table next to lithium is beryllium, which is having atomic number 4. So electronic configuration will be 2 and 2. So the electrons will be filled in this way. That second electron will also come in the same subshell, 2s. That is why. And all the elements below these elements, lithium, sodium, potassium under group 1 and beryllium, then we have another elements in the second group, they will also have the same electronic configuration, that the next electron will be filled in the S subshell only, and that is why S block is having 2 groups, because the electronic configuration is in such a way that the last electrons are filled in the S subshells only. Group 1 is having hydrogen plus alkali metals, whereas group 2 is having helium and alkaline earth metals. The same way, if we talk about P block. So about P block, we know that there are, in P block energy level, we can accommodate 6 electrons in this way. But this seems as that these 2 electrons, like you cannot do it like this. If we have 4 electrons in P subshell, that this way they cannot be filled. This will be wrong. First, the electrons will take the lowest energy states in this way, and then only they will be filled this way. Suppose if we talk about the first element, that is in the p block, is group number 13, and group number 13 is having boron in it. So boron having atomic number 5. So what will happen to its electronic configuration? 2, 3. So here we will have the electronic configuration in terms of SPDF. We have 1s2. The next 2 electrons will be filled in 2s cell, and the remaining 1 will come into 3p1. Sorry, second energy level but p subshell, 2p1. So in this cell, only 1 electron is there. So as we go in the next group, group number 14, so we will have electronic configuration 6. So in that case we will have 1 more electron here. In case of 15th group we have electron here. In case of 16th group we will accommodate the next electron here. In case of 17th group this will be the configuration. In case of 18th group we have the capability or the power of accommodation that we can adjust the electron here. So this way 1 p subshell can accommodate 6 electrons, and that is why there are 6 groups in p block. So now you would have understood that why there are 2 groups in s block, 6 groups in p block, and the same happens in case of d and f block. Because when we talk about the d block, the d block is having a capacity. Now I'm not talking about the 1s, 2s and 2p. When it comes to d block, then it is having a capacity to accommodate 10 electrons. So when electronic configuration starts from the third group, then 1 electron will be adjusted here. Then in the next group, second will come here, third will come here, fourth, fifth, and this way third, fourth, fifth, sixth and seventh group will be filled. Then this way they will be filled, and we will be filling till the electronic configuration is adjusted in the d block itself, and that is how we can accommodate 10 electrons, 10 new electrons in the shells, d subshell only. So that is why d block is having 10 groups, whereas f block is having 14 groups, because f block is having a capacity to adjust. It is having 7 blocks this way, so it can have 14 electrons in this subshell. That means the elements with the next 14 atomic numbers can be adjusted in the f block itself, and that is why f block is having 14 groups, d block is having 10 groups, p block is having 6 groups, and s block is having just 2 groups. Question number 10 is, how do the following vary along the period and why? And question number 11 is that why do all these properties vary along a group and why? So these properties we have discussed in case of trends in the groups and periods when we did our chapter modern periodic table trends. So that time we have done these in a very much detail. So let us them quickly, as the lecture is already very long. So let us do a common answer for question number 10 and question number 11, because in question number 10 we have been asked about the trends in the periods, and in the question number 11 we have been asked about the trends in the groups. And the first trend that we have to say is metallic character. So in case of periods, when we go from left to right across a period, then metallic character decreases. Why? Because at the left end we are the metals are placed, and at the right extreme end we have been given with the non-metals. So as we go from left to right, we are going from metals towards non-metals. So that is how we can say that metallic character decreases across a group, whereas in a group metallic character increases. Why so? Because as we go down in the group, more and more subshells are added, and the metals becomes more reactive, because now they are having a bigger size, more number of shells, more number of electrons, and the atomic size is bigger. So the last electrons, they will be in the higher energy levels, and accordingly the nuclear charge or nuclear force of attraction will be very less. So it is very easy to lose the electrons in case as we go down in the group for the lower elements in the group. So the metallic character will increase as we go down in the group. B is atomic size. So as we have seen that when we go across a period from left to right, that atomic size decreases, although the atomic number is increasing. Why? Because when we go from lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, so we are having electronic configuration 3, 4, 5, atomic number 6 and 7 and so on. So what will happen? 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4 and 2, 5. So you can see here that number of shells are not increasing, only the number of valence electrons are increasing. That means the nuclear charge, that means protons, more protons, they are taking care of the electrons with the very small distance. Only 2 shells, but the number of electrons are increasing. So the nuclear charge per electron increases, and that is why the size decreases. So that there is a decrease in the size as we go from left to right. But noble gases can be the exception, because they have their last orbits filled. So it is possible that they have the sizes bigger. So this can happen that we have atomic size this, then this, and it decreases as we go down in the group, and the noble gases can have the size this as well. But as we go down in the group, atomic size always increases. For example, we have lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium. Accordingly, they have the electronic configuration of atomic number 3, 11, 19. So if we do it, the electronic configuration will be 2, 1, 2, 8, 1, 2, 8, 8, 1. So this way you can see that atomic size is increasing as the number of shells are increasing. And if the number of shells are increasing, then the atomic radius increases. So this will happen in case of atomic size in a group. The third thing that we have been asked in the question is electronegativity. Electronegativity we have discussed a lot of times. So when we go from left to right, we know that metallic character is decreasing and metals are electropositive in nature. So we are going from electropositivity towards electronegativity. That means across a period, when we go from left to right, electronegativity increases. And when we talk about the metallic character or the groups, trends in the groups in case of electronegativity, then we have seen that metallic character increases as we go down in the group. That means electropositivity is increasing as we move down in the group. So electronegativity decreases in case of groups. as we go down in a group, electronegativity decreases. The fourth property is electron affinity. Electron affinity is the tendency to add up the electrons to the atom. But metals, they have the tendency to lose the electrons. And non-metals, they have a tendency to gain the electrons because they are more electronegative. So if we talk about the periods, then as we move from left to right across a period, then electron affinity always increases. But remember that electron affinity, whenever an electron is added to the atom, amount of energy is released. So if we take electron affinity as the amount of energy released, then for metals it will be 0. Then for non-metals it will be high and negative value. So in that aspect you can take it as that electron affinity so for metals it is 0, for non-metals it is highly negative. That means a large amount of energy is released. So electron affinity increases as we go across a period, and the amount of energy is you can say decreases. First it was 0 and then it is negative, but it is not about the positive and negative, it is the amount of energy which is released from the system. So only non-metals have a tendency to attract or to gain the electron, to add up the electron to the atom. So electron affinity increases as we go across a period. But if we talk about the trends in the group in case of electron affinity, suppose we have fluorine, chlorine, then we have halogens. So they have a tendency to attract the electron. The first element in the group will be having a high electronegativity, as we know that electronegativity decreases down the group. So for the first element in the group it will be very high. So it will be having a very high electron affinity as compared to chlorine and so on. So electron affinity decreases as we go down in a group. That means electron affinity or the tendency to gain electron to attain the noble gas configuration will be more for fluorine as compared to chlorine, and it decreases as we go down the group. Fifth is ionization energy. We know ionization energy is the energy required to remove one electron from the atom or from the ion. So we will need energy to remove electrons from the atom or the ion. So the metals, they are more electropositive. That means they have the tendency to lose the electrons. So the element which is having tendency to lose the electron, it is easy to remove electrons from there. But it is very hard or very tough to remove the electrons from an atom which is already in the shortage of electrons. For example, chlorine or fluorine. As the electronegativity increases this side, so here more and more amount of energy will be required to remove electrons from there, and very less amount of energy will be required to remove electrons from the extreme left of the modern periodic table. That means ionization energy increases as we go from left to right across a period. And if we talk about the ionization energy in a group, then we know that as we go down in the group, atomic size is increasing, and along with the atomic size increase, the nuclear charge per electron is also decreasing, because now more and more number of shells are added as we go down the group, and the electrons which are there in the last shell will be having a very high distance from the nucleus center, and that means there is a very less force of attraction between the last electrons, between the electrons present in the last shell and the nucleus. So it is easy to remove the electrons from the outermost shell as compared to the inner ones. So as we go down in the group, less amount of energy will be required, whereas at the top of the group, more and more amount of energy will be required as the number of shells are less. So force of attraction between the nucleus and the subshell electron will be very high. So ionization energy is high at the above level of the group, and as we go down in the group it becomes less. So it decreases as we go down in a group. So this is all about today's assignment solutions, and this answer number 10 and 11 we have done together here, but you have to do it separately. So now I hope all the doubts of yours are cleared, as I have seen your assignment solutions which you have sent in the homework. So chapter number 5 along with the assignment solutions is now complete, and now you have to prepare for a test of chapter number 5, that is periodic classification of elements, and this test will be conducted tomorrow. So be prepared and be ready for the test. So take care and goodbye.